First, let's pay homage to the lineage gurus, homage to the Venerable Monk Liao Ming, homage to Master Sakya Zhengkong, the Zhong Rinpoche, homage to the 16 Karmapa, the Dharma King, and homage to Master Dubdan Darji. Homage to the three jewels of the altar, all the deities of the altar, and homage to the three jewels, and homage to the main deity of Homa, Namo Raga Raja. Sumu, all Dhamma masters, Dhamma educators, Dhamma teachers, Dhamma lecturers, Dhamma assistants, temple directors, and all disciples here and over the internet. And our participating VIPs today are the wife of Taiwan's representative to Sweden, Dhamma Sister Judy, the law advisor to True Buddha School, Dharma Sister Jennifer Zhou, CTI TV Taiwan, producers for the Gaining Tianzang Xinten, Dharma Sister Rebecca Shiachi, representative to the councilperson of Taipei City, Ms. Chue Hui-ling, from Fuxing Airline, Dharma Sister Wu Mei-xian, Voices of Heaven Choir Group, Ms. Lin Yizhan, it's noted here the pronunciation is Miss Lin Yizhan. There's a slight inflection on the pronunciation. And Dr. Ryan Zhuang, next Sunday there's no Homa because we're going to New York. Today we perform Ragaraja Homa, and in the past I have taught about this Dharma, and initially it was transmitted in Hong Kong, and I remember at that time they used many special things for the ceremony, including the modern musics like guitars and Western drums, and reciting this mantra. While playing on the guitar, reciting the mantra Hom Tza Tza Hom Re. This mantra is the shortest, and the visualization is rather complicated. The visualization is rather complicated, and the mudra, it's the touching mudra. Two hands interlace inwardly, and the two middle fingers upright and touching at the middle part. So by touching, it means that both sides are touched by love. So it's the same. You and the Buddhas are touching each other. That's also catching up in love. So that's the major, medium, and the minor love connection. So like the big love connection is like fans. Fans. In Chinese, it's 粉丝, translated from English, fans. So as a singer or as a president, you need lots of fans. So it's this mudra. So this hand, this kind of mudra, there are lots of mudras. Cross, that's Ragaraja. Separate is Siddhigarbha Bodhisattva. This is Vajra teeth. And when it's straight, so two fingers are very straight, that would be for Vajra Kilaya, Dorje Pupa. And if it's slightly arched, that would be for Yamantaka, which is Manjushri's Yamantaka. So just with this middle fingers, Siddhigarbha, Ragaraja, Vajra Kilaya, and Yamantaka, Manjushri. They're all with this mudra. They're all in it. So the visualization of Ragaraja is divided into 3 steps. The first one is the nectar vase. So his Dharma throne started from the bottom, the nectar vase, and the nectar vase belongs to Amitabha. So you use the 6 syllable shit. First, you visualize the 6 syllable shit that transforms to become the nectar vase. And from inside the vase, a red lotus blossoms arises, very red lotus. And the lotus is represented by pan. So shorter at the top, longer at the bottom, and slightly curved, and with a circle on top. That's called pan, pang. Then you visualize the 6 syllable, and then the red lotus. First the nectar vase, and then appears the red lotus, but represented by the 6 syllable. The shit transformed to become the nectar vase, and pang transformed to become the red lotus. And then the Ragaraja himself. And he is home, from the Om Ah Hom. So he's transformed from home, 6 syllable. And Ragaraja has 6 arms, as we all know. The first pair of arms are holding a mala and lotus, and the second pair of hands are holding bow and arrow, and the third pairs are holding Vajra bell and Vajra scepter. And entire body radiates a bright red light, and he sits on a 1,000-petal lotus on a nectar vase. So 3 6 syllables. First, you visualize the appearance of the she 6 syllable that transformed to become the nectar vase. Then you visualize the appearance of the pang 6 syllable that transformed to become the lotus blossom. And then you visualize the appearance of the 6 syllable home that transforms to become Ragaraja. So the Ragaraja Dharma practice has been transmitted in Hong Kong, and The presiding master at that time was Master Lien Teng, who now has gone to the Mahadapa Lotus Ponds, to the Buddha land. And his Buddha name is also called the Lotus Light Buddha, the same name, the Lotus Light Buddha. He was the presiding master, and I was sitting behind him. He had a habit of writing his speech, and he continued reading his speech. And he was talking to almost dinner time. And I was sitting behind him, and I was going to transmit this Dharma. But he continued until about the end time of the ceremony. Only a few minutes left. So Master Lien Miao was getting to be panicky, and it's only a few minutes left, so he asked Master Lien Teng to stop. But Master Lien Teng said, "But I haven't finished reading my speech. How could I stop?" He didn't know how to put on the brake, like driving a car. He hasn't arrived at the destination. How could he put on the brake and stop? So he continued talking. So that was his Master Lien Teng's characteristic. So Master Lien Miao walked to him and said, "Time is up. It should finish soon." And Master Lien Teng replied, "I don't know how to stop." He didn't know how to wrap up his speech. And he was still in the middle of it. He had to finish reading his speech. And then for the third time, Master Lien Miao went up to him and said, "There's no more time left. It's time, almost time for dinner. If you don't finish." And he was dumbfounded, and what should he do? He continued reading. That was the story about Master Lien Teng. So when he finally finished, I only have 20 minutes left. So in 20 minutes, I transmitted all the Dharma, including the Dharma of painting the image, or stopping the evil, drawing an image, for love and respect, nectar Dharma, the carved image Dharma, exorcising the demons. So all this Dharma, I completed them all in 20 minutes. Like the Dharma of painting the image. You paint the nectar vase, the lotus, Nagaraja, and then by painting, you imprint it on your mind. If that would be fastest to learn to visualize by painting it. So that's the Dharma of drawing or painting the image. And the Dharma of stopping the evil is you use the bow and arrow. It's a very sharp arrow that the finest red thread that was about to break, then you cut it off, then your connection is gone. So if you have a bad connection or bad affinity, negative affinity, then you can cut it off. But you cannot kill two people. You cannot shoot two people. Then you like kill them. Like the sound of SARS. In Chinese, it sounds like killed. And AIDS, it sounds like love to death. That's the Dharma for stopping the evil. And the Dharma of love and respect, you need the pistils of a red lotus blossoms. You pronounce it Ray. The Beijing accent would be rolling tongue Ray. So you need 108 pistils or stamens of the red lotus blossoms, and then you throw them into the Homa fire. And you recite the mantra, Hom Cha Cha Hom Re, commanding this person and that person to love and respect each other. So when you perform Homa, there is also the Dharma for love and respect. So if the arrow becomes a sharp arrow, then it is for stopping the evil or cutting off the evil. But if the arrow becomes like a flower arrow, then it would become a love and respect. So that's the difference. So you visualize the tall, handsome, and rich boyfriend in front of you, and you use a flower arrow to shoot at his heart. And if you hit the target, then he would be with you. The boyfriend would be with you. You need to visualize. This is all the Dharma for love and respect. But if a man really likes a woman, you visualize the woman in front of you and you become Ragaraja and you shoot the flower arrow toward her heart. Then you would live inside her heart. Then you fill her heart and she will always love you. That's the Dharma for love and respect. And the nectar Dharma and the lotus blossom was transformed from the 6-syllable Pang. And the nectar Dharma is to eradicate your karma. You visualize the red ambrosia or red nectar water because Ragaraja is red. Because Ragaraja emits nectar, he transforms himself to be the whole body nectar and enters into your body, and your body is filled with nectar. Then this can purify yourself and eradicate all the negative, the bad karma from yourself. And the Dharma of carving an image, you carve Ragaraja on a small thing, and then you carry it, and you recite the mantra frequently. Then your boss would like you, would love you, that he would think of you when he's giving promotions or relocating to a better job. So if you wear or carry the carved image with you, after completing 300,000 mantra recitations, then you would have responses. And also the Dharma of detoxification, detoxification. Like if you take food or alcohol or food that's not fresh, spoiled food, If you didn't know or you know that it is spoiled, and then you recite Hom Cha Cha Hom Re, then the food would be cleansed. So this is the Dharma of detoxification. It's very interesting, this detox Dharma. Many people use this Ragaraja's detox Dharma. Let me discuss this. So Sakyamuni Buddha took a poisonous food, and he had diarrhea and dehydrated, and his digestive system became disorder, was in disorder. And in Mahayana Buddhism, it was said that he took in poisonous mushrooms, and at the end, someone made offering of food to the Guru. There was an ironsmith who made offering to Sakyamuni Buddha, so he went to the ironsmith's house and offered the toxic or poisonous mushrooms to the Buddha. So he was poisoned, had diarrhea and dehydrated. And he was close to the Ganges River, and he asked Ananda to get some water. But at that time, the 500 tradesmen passed by the river, so the water was very turbid. It was very turbid and could not be drunk. So in Tantrayana, the legend was different. Sakyamuni Buddha took in the spoiled or rotten meat. So this is according to the tantric tradition, because eating meat is allowed in Tantrayana, so they say that the Buddha ate meat. But in Mahayana Buddhism, they are vegetarians, so they said that the Sakyamuni Buddha took in mushroom. So this is very interesting. So what did Sakyamuni Buddha eat to get poisoned? So, but the legends were like that. One said eating poisonous mushrooms, the other one is eating rotten meat. So what did he actually eat before he died? Many disciples made offerings of food to the Buddha, and the disciples didn't say anything. But the words through the grapevine, finally, the Mahayana believers believe he took in mushrooms, and the tantric followers believe he took in rotten meat. So you recite Hom Cha Cha Hom Re and touch the food, and when you eat it, it doesn't have any more poison in it. So my Dharma of detoxification, Dharma of carving the image, Dharma of nectar, Dharma of love and respect, Dharma of drawing an image, Dharma of stopping the evil. See, I completed all this Dharma transmission. Once you attain spiritual union, you have the yogic response, then you can do all this Dharma. But Master Lien Teng continued talking and talking and talking, and he could not stop. He had to finish his written speech. And it was no use. Master Lien Miao was urging him to stop. Please, finish, please. And he still couldn't stop. And he only gave me 20 minutes to talk about it. And now I finished transmitting all the Dharma. So in order to gain yogic response with the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Ragaraja is the mediator. I saw someone wearing a kimono, and she's really Japanese kimono. Are you Japanese? She has a Japanese name. It sounded like wearing pants. Her Japanese name. She's Japanese. She's Joanna's niece. She lived in Japan and now she's studying in United States. So she grew up in Japan. So your Japanese is good. So a reporter would ask like this, so you live in Japan ever since you're young, so is your Japanese good? Then they would hit on you because you grew up in Japan, of course your Japanese would be good. It's like asking a kid growing up in America, is your English good? So there are a lot of nonsense questions asked by reporters like, oh, Grandmaster Lu, you've written so many books, over 250 books. So did you write the book one character at a time? And I said, what? What? It's really nonsense. Now I'm writing book number 255. And they asked me, did you write it character by character, or did you write it book by book? What are you talking about? So you think that I would write several books at the same time? And they need to ask this kind of questions. They didn't even think about it. Today, we will continue on these two people who went to India to study. One is called Zhuomi Sakya and Dano Shinru Zunzu. They were sent to study in India, to study Tantric Dharma in India. Prior to their departure, Kampu and Acharya spoke a statement famous in Tibetan Buddhism. That is, precepts or sila is the root of the holy teaching. So Buddhism at that time was called the holy teaching. The most important thing is the precepts. You need to keep the precepts. That the precepts are the root of the holy teaching. So you need to put great importance on precepts. And the school that places the greatest importance on precepts is Gelugpa, the yellow sect. And at that time, the red sect, Nyingma was rather slack on the precepts. So Nyingma, Sakyapa, Kagyupa. So Nyingma don't place great importance, but Gelugpa places greatest importance on precepts. So the famous statement in Tibetan Buddhism is that precepts is the root of the holy teaching. Without precepts, let's not talk about Buddhism. And prajna is the fifth instruction of the holy teaching. The Buddha's wisdom so the meanings of the Buddha is the fifth instruction of the holy teaching. And Tantra or Tantric Dharma is the quintessence of the holy teaching. So the elucidation of the body, speech, and mind. So the Tantric Dharma practice that uses the body, speech, and mind is the quintessence of the holy teaching. Because Buddha has spoken on a lot of the sutras, on many sutras. You can't even finish the Tripitaka. So the Tripitaka compiled by the Emperor Qianlong is called Longzang. And then the Da Zheng Zhang. And the Xixia, the Jingzang, which is the baskets of sutras of Xixia dynasty, written in Xixia language, and also Tibetan Tripitaka. So in Tibetan language, there is also a Tripitaka written in Tibetan language. There are so many sutras, but the most important quintessence is the Tantric Dharma and how to practice it. So when you go to India, you need to keep this in mind, to listen to them and absorb them and bring them back to Tibet and spread it in Tibet. That's the key point. Then these two people left for India. So this statement is very important. So this includes the sutras, precepts or sila, and the sastras, or the discussion, or treatises. So the sila is precepts. The sutras are the words spoken by the Buddha or by the sages. And the precepts are the precepts or sila, the rules. And lun, or the sastras, or the discussions or treatises, are the insights or the inspirations of spiritual cultivators. So they should bring back the sila, the sutras, and the sastras from India. So they left for India. However, due to their differences in personality and point of view, Dano Xunlu Zunzu preferred to make pilgrimages. So he went to the 8 holy places in India, and he collected merits and good fortunes, and eventually stayed under the Vajra seat. The Vajra seat is the place where Buddha Sakyamuni meditated at Bodhigaya. So he lived nearby, and he didn't have much or special attainment in terms of his Buddhist studies. Like I personally went to India, I met, this person went to India, made pilgrimages to the 8 holy places and collecting merits, and eventually went to the Vajra seat in Bodhigaya and stayed nearby, and then nobody heard about him afterwards. So 2 people went to India to study Buddha Dharma. But he just liberated himself. He didn't care about the rest. He didn't bring back Buddha Dharma to Tibet. However, Zuomi was different. Zuomi went to Caoyan Temple, a temple called Caoyan, where he studied from the Pandita Sindipa of the East Gate. He studied precepts and prajna for 8 years. So precepts are the most important. Without precepts, you're gone. Teaching you not to smoke and you smoke. Asking you not to drink intoxicant and you drink alcohol. And then you take in drug and go to prostitute, or you do bad things and you created bad karma, so you don't abide by the precepts. How can you have attainments in Buddha Dharma? There's no need to talk about it. Sometimes somebody said, you believe in Jesus Christ, that's good too. So from Monday to Saturday, like you steal, you rob, and on Sundays you repent. And after the repentance, from Monday to Saturday, you steal and rob again. And then on Sunday, you go to the church to repent again. Of course, that's no use. So it's the same in Buddhism. You need to abide by the 5 basic precepts, and you can't even keep them. There's no need to talk more about the precepts. There's no precepts to be talked about, and you will not have attainments in Buddha Dharma. So he studied precepts for 8 years. So he was very serious about his study. So he also studied prajna, which means studied sutras and precepts. And afterwards, Zomi went to East India, where he met a monk, an ordained person who used an invisible hand to accept an offering of food. That was incredible. He saw a monk, and the monk was begging for alms, and people giving him something, and he didn't even extend his arm, and the food would automatically move to the bowl. So that's an invisible hand. So he used an invisible hand to accept offerings from other people. Like you're making an offering to me, and the offering would automatically move to my hand. So that monk must have some supernatural or transcendental power in order to be able to do that. So that's called the invisible hand, to accept the offering of food. And he was awestruck and found this monk to be incredible. So So the master translator Zuomi in ancient circumambulated the monk for 3 circles. In ancient time, that showed the greatest admiration or respect. So when you were beseeching the Buddha to transmit Buddha Dharma or to ask for Dharma, they would circumambulate Buddha Sakyamuni 3 times and then prostrated and bowed and then asked Sakyamuni Buddha. It's the same. So he circumambulated the monk and bowed many times. and pleading to be accepted as his disciple. So he asked the monk to be his guru. So because he could show such supernatural power, so he must have some spiritual cultivation. And this monk turned out to be the third generation disciple of Virupa. So the first lineage is Virupa to that person, and then to the next person. And the second person transmitted to the third person. That would be this. And his name is Prajnandraruki. So the third generation disciple of Virupa is called the Prajnandraruki. So he accepted Zuo Mi as his disciple. And he started teaching Tantric Dharma to Zuo Mi, the master translator, including Lamdre. So Zuo Mi followed the monk for 4 years. And afterwards, he received all the lineage transmission, which was Lamdre. That was the master translator Zuo Mi. Later on, the master translator Zuo Mi returned to Tibet and stayed at Lamu. See? At noon, I was talking about Lamu. There was a Rinpoche that followed Grandmaster, and he was called Om Chak Rinpoche. He often visited Seattle Lezang Temple. And I was talking about Lamu. He went back to Lamu. A place called Liu Gulong near Sakya. He also invited Pandita Jayatolo to teach all kinds of Dharma for 5 years with an offering of 500 liangs of gold. How much is it? 500 liangs of gold is equal to how many kilos? To 25 kilograms. If 1 kilogram is over 40,000 US dollars, now 1 kilogram of gold is about 40,000 US dollars. Actually, it's over 40,000. So he made an offering of 1 million US dollars and learned for 5 years. Learned the Tantric Dharma for 5 years. So the master translator Zuo Mi learned a lot of Dharma. So now you understand. 1 million US dollars for listening to Dharma for 5 years. 1 million US dollars. 1 million US dollars. 500 liangs of gold. But now, wow, 1 million US dollars. Grandmaster has 5 million disciples. And you have listened to Dharma for so many years. So if you make an offering, if each person makes an offering of $1 million US, how much would Grandmaster have? But I don't dare to say that, because for each blessing on the head, they only offer $1 US. But of course, not everybody. There are also some who offered $10, $20, $50, or $100, or even more. But most people offer $1 or $5. But that's not bad. I'm content. That's good enough. I live my days happily. So in one shot, he made an offering of 500 liangs of gold. Wow. It's amazing. That's $1 million US. So he was there for 5 years and learned a lot of Dharma. So the master translator Zhuo Mi was really well versed in Sanskrit, and he mastered exoteric and esoteric sutras and tantras, and he translated a great number of sutras, and the most important one is the Hevajra Tantra. And Grandmaster wrote the Hevajra exposition, or the great bliss within the empty nature, and I have written that book. And how much is the book sold for in US dollars? About $15. That's very cheap. Hevajra exposition embodies the quintessence of Hevajra. If you attain fruition in Hevajra practice, then you have comprehended Lamdre about two-thirds of Lamdre. There are many points about Lamdre that are also in Hevajra exposition. So I have written a book on Hevajra, and I have also talked a lot about Kalachakra. So I place great importance on two Heruka practices. One is Hevajra of the Sakya school, and Kalachakra, which I have transmitted quite a bit. The teacher asked Xiaoming why the cars and the people are always by the right, on the right side, but in England it's to the left. And Xiaoming replied, because of the Bodhisattva's protection, and protection in Chinese also sound like protecting the right. So in Taiwan or America, we drive on the right side, but in England they ride on the left side, and Japan is the same. Japan followed the English tradition, and also Hong Kong, and Great Britain, Protectorate, they also followed. So you need to be on the right, because the Bodhisattva was protecting the right. Pao Yu is protecting. So you go to the left and you go to the right at different countries. So why don't we have a standard all over the world? Then you don't need to make cars with steering wheels on the left or on the right. And in Taiwanese, that's the curse words, you know. Kao yao, kao bei. Do you understand? Only Taiwanese would understand them. If you rely on the mountain topples. If you rely on the person runs away. And then, in Chinese it rhymes. And then, what else do you rely on? It's best to rely on yourself. Actually, in spiritual cultivation, we rely completely on our own. You cannot rely on other people. So after you learn something, then you rely on yourself to put it into practice. Only then you would have attainments or siddhi. Yesterday, after dinner, the wife was going to have another bowl of rice, but yet she's concerned about gaining weight, so she was hesitating. So with my statement, I let her open the rice bowl cover, and she did have another bowl of rice, because I said, you're already an elephant. Does it matter whether you're fat elephant or skinny elephant? So that's why I recommend Master Hui Jun. You're already a round ball. Do you care whether the ball is full of air or doesn't have enough air? She walks about 2 hours every day, and from far away, as if I see her, a ball rolling in. She was holding an umbrella because it was raining, and she was walking inside the Seattle temple, and she said that she needed to walk 2 hours. And from far away, I saw her to be like a ball, rolling from here to there and here to there. And last night at dinner, I saw her finish eating in a very short time. But you're already a ball. Does it matter whether the air inside the ball is full or not? You're still a ball. However, in our Buddhist study, we need to be really full. You need to learn it perfectly. You need to comprehend the precepts. You need to understand prajna. And you need to put into practice the tantric dharma. And tantric dharma is the essence of Buddha Dharma. In Tibet, tantric dharma is the quintessence of the Buddha Dharma. But you need to have prajna, the Buddha's wisdom, and you need to know how to abide by the precepts, and only then it would be perfect. One day, the emperor was sick. So he called upon all his ministers. And one of the ministers asked, who would you appoint your successor? And because the emperor was sick, so he said, call the doctor. So the Chinese word 传 is like calling or appointing the successor. So the ministers were really stupid. How could they do that? You know, I look into this Western Xia dynasty, and there were lots of chaos and battles during that dynasty. Among many of the kings were like this. So they appointed the wrong successors. So often, it's often like that. If you appoint the wrong person, then it would be a big mistake. In the past, it was very strict for the teacher to transmit the lineage to the disciple. They need to observe for 3 years, and the disciple also needs to observe the guru for 3 years. And only then the refuge would be bestowed. For 3 years, the guru told the disciple, another 3 years from the disciple to the guru, and altogether 6 years already. So what lineage transmission could there be? The time is gone. But nowadays it's different because we have media, we have the internet, and we have webcasts. So Dharma transmission is different now. Now it's open and public. But in the past, the Tantric Dharma is only transmitted within the royal family. So the inner quarters of the palace, or the king, or several of the ministers, it was not transmitted to the common people. But now it's different. Now it's public and open for everyone. And now we have a direct webcast, and we have internet. Doesn't matter where you live, you can hear the Tantric Dharma. So this is a good sign, but with a little shortcoming is that it could be transmitted to the wrong people. It's like the joke that the emperor said, call the doctor. So the successor, the doctor became the successor. And most people should know this joke. At class, the teacher said, so anyone that has pets at home, please raise your hand. And John raised his hand and said, what pet do you have at home? And he replied, I have many pets. My granddad has a dog, my grandma has a cat, my mom has a squirrel, and I have a rabbit. But those are no big deal. But my dad's pet is the most incredible, because I heard my mom said that my dad has a fox spirit outside. And I have never seen the pet. And when my dad was talking on the phone, I always heard my dad say that there's a female tiger at home. So I asked Granddad, so where is the female tiger? I've never seen her. And Granddad said, there's not only one female tiger. Actually, there are two. There are more than one female tigers at home. And female tigers referring to the fierce woman. And thank you very much to His Holiness precious Dharma teaching.